We have 3 years left of this man's career. Amazing. It's only taken the entire calendar year of 2022
I forgot
to get through. We started in January. We're either just pieces of garbage or it's just a lot of shit. It's a lot of shit to cover.
You want to know what's really funny? Like, I still, like, we've done this for 9 straight months, and I still don't feel like how I felt for Michael Jordan. It's like, I need to... Like,
wait till we get to ending the debate. But by that point, it's going to be fucking 2024.
Yeah.
But no. So we are in the 2008-2009 season, and we're really in a different era, like a completely different era than the last era where Shaq was winning championships with Miami. We are in the Lakers-Celtics run. And we just passed their first NBA Finals, right? And Shaq obviously watched those finals from his couch because he was out in round 1. And he sees them lose, and he basically a week later, so the 23rd, I don't know when the last game of the finals was. I'll have that on your screen. But the 23rd of June, he goes on stage and he does a what is now known as an infamous rap that someone recorded on their phone, and it's really the beginning of this what Shaq calls the snitcher net era, which I thought was hilarious. But basically, what he's saying is it was novel for you to see Shaq on a phone camera. Like, that shit wasn't happening yet. And people were posting it on social media. Like, Twitter is just being born.
Yeah.
And so he goes on stage in New York and he does a little freestyle.
Check it. You know how I be. Last week, Kobe couldn't do without me. You know how I be. Last week, Kobe couldn't do without me. I call myself big, but I'm not as good as Biggie. I call myself big because I live next to Diddy. Excuse me, Diddy lived next to me. So in the hood, dog, I feel like B.I.G. Because if Biggie was still here, he would be right there on Star Island in the mansion somewhere chilling, sitting on about $500 million. Because me and Guns combined that's $500 million. For real, dog. Now that's B.I.G. Ain't nobody in the world do it bigger than me. That's like a white boy trying to be more than me. That's like a homeless cat having more figures than me. That's like Patrick Ewing having more rings than me. That's like rappers having car strip things than me. That's like you singing to yourself, you're better than me. That's like Kareem saying to himself, he's better than me. Now stop, think about that. It ain't about that. It's about B.I.G. aka Big Shaq. Now that's the difference between first and last place. Kobe, nigga, tell me how my ass tastes. Okay, Kobe, tell me how my ass tastes. Okay, everybody, Kobe, tell me how my ass tastes. I'm a horse. Kobe ratted me out. That's why I'm getting divorced. He said Shaq gave a bitch a meal. I don't do that because my name's Shaquille. I love him. I don't leave him. I got a vasectomy. Now I can't breed him. Kobe, how my ass tastes. Everybody, Kobe, how my ass tastes. Yeah, you couldn't do it without me. Kobe, you couldn't do it without me. Kobe, you can't do it without me. Everybody, Kobe, tell me how my ass tastes. Yeah, you can't do it without me. Yeah, you can't do it without me. Yeah, you can't do it without me. Everybody, Kobe. Yeah.
So he says all these things. He says Kobe couldn't do it without me. He says,
talking a lot of shit. Kobe, tell me how my ass tastes.
That's it culminates. It culminates with Kobe, tell me how my ass tastes. Tell me how my ass tastes.
Well, you want to know what's really funny? The
viral, mega viral. This video goes.
The funniest thing is, I'm pretty sure this same summer, I watched that, but I didn't realize it was that summer that it happened. I thought it
happened years before.
Yeah, that's why, and because what happens this year, it makes it seem like they had been friends for a while. I don't know. That's how like because this is my first real season
Yeah.
of like starting
Watching
to watch
basketball, being
basketball
into the game.
every single game. Every
Yeah.
single game. I used to watch like as like a whatchamacallit, a fair weather fan or whatever the hell. Like
Sure.
I would watch
Casual.
every once
A fucking
casual.
casual.
Yeah. So this was the first year that I actually watched game by game, and I was very confused. Now knowing that, even right like when you wrote that down, I was like, oh, I didn't realize that was in the season.
Yep. It literally happened because the Celtics beat the Lakers in the finals, and not a week later, he goes on stage and is just talking about it. And that means he was talking about it to anybody who would listen, like in his personal life.
Yeah.
Talking to his kids, being like, look, see, Sharif? He can't do it without me. I'm the fucking man. Like, I'm still the Diesel, Big Diesel. Yeah. He's starting to feel better. He's done more work to fix muscles, and we're going to talk about that as we get through the season. But
that might have been what ignited Kobe to, do what he had to do.
But no, to your point, it feels that way because they've had a couple of times now where they made up, like that Martin Luther King Day game, right? Where they were like, we don't want any of the drama to happen on this day. Let's dap up, show love. They said nice things about each other, whole 9 yards. But I'm sure Shaq didn't expect his rap to go all over the world.
Yeah.
That was I bet he thought that was strictly for the audience in front of him, as the good old days were, right? Nowadays, everything's on their phone, to the point where if you go see last month, Lindsay and I, with a couple of friends, saw Chris Rock and Kevin Hart live in New York City.
Yeah.
And they took your phones. They take your phone, they put it in this locked bag, so shit like this can't happen. That's where we're at now.
Yeah. Well, with comedy shows, that makes so much sense because the world is fucking sensitive as shit.
Stephen A. Smith,
especially YouTube. YouTube is sensitive as shit.
For now, maybe it'll change. Maybe it'll change. Maybe there'll be a new platform.
It'll be hardcore YouTube.
Our degenerate selves could be on. But for now, YouTube, I love you. I love you, YouTube. Thank you for letting me.
Yeah, I guess.
Thank you for letting me do the show. Please pay me at some point. Anyways, reached by ESPN's Stephen A. Smith on Monday, Shaq issued the following statement. I was freestyling, that's all. It was all done in fun. Nothing serious whatsoever. That is what MCs do. They freestyle when called upon. I'm totally cool with Kobe. No issue at all. And by the way, don't forget, 6 albums, 2 platinum, 2 gold. And by the way, and anybody who knows me knows I'm a funny freestyler. Check the NBA DVD when I was rapping about Vlade Divac during my first championship run. Please tell everybody, don't make something out of nothing. This guy is absolutely from that era where, and it's crazy that I say this now because, like, as kids we grew up in this, but it's just not this way anymore. Things could be said back then that they just weren't taken the same way, and we're starting to get to this era of overreaction. Like, that's one thing Twitter and all social media did, was put a microscope on everybody's questionable shit, whatever you consider questionable. And that was the thing, like, everybody's questionable is at a different level.
Yeah. So well, it was just, I think it was just a way that the media could just refuel the fire between the two.
Sure.
So I think that was more so what he didn't want to happen, probably. Especially because he knew right now he couldn't do anything about it.
And we're 4 seasons removed now from the Laker era. So we are way past. Shaq is going to turn 37 this year. Like, and it's actually kind of impressive. So they fire Mike D'Antoni. Oh, what were you going to say?
No, trust me, it would have been nothing.
All right. But so the one thing that they did that I thought was interesting is they fired Mike D'Antoni, the guy who kind of made the the whole system
Yeah.
there, or who was seen as the people who made the system. In my opinion, the system is about three guys in particular: Steve Nash, Steve Kerr, and Mike D'Antoni. It's the three of them. All three of them have their own role in putting together and being a part of this revolutionary Phoenix Suns 7 seconds or less type deal.
What's Steve Kerr's part in that? Why do you feel that way?
Because he's the general manager.
Because most people say
he helps draft the talent. He sets up the roster, right? And did a great job setting up the roster. Like, during this era, the draft picks that didn't end up on this team, like, because the owner, Robert Sarver, is a cheap piece of garbage. The reason why, think of the guys they drafted. They drafted Rondo. He ended up being a Celtic, but they drafted Rondo.
Yeah.
They had Joe Johnson on this team. I think they drafted him, but I'm not positive on that. But I know they had a young Joe Johnson, and he was they drafted Amari, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of solid talent around Steve Nash to make the system work. Because they could have had a guy like Shaq this whole time, and I think it would have fucked up the system. Because
I think that's what happened.
Guys, bing, 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 who can run back and forth. And they fired D'Antoni because great regular season guy, no success come the postseason.
Yeah.
Never made an NBA Finals despite having the best offense in basketball.
Yeah.
And so they let him go, and they hired Terry Porter, a guy from the 90s. He used to play for the Trailblazers and I think a couple other teams. But he's always in the Trailblazers when I play 2K. So that's how I remember it. And he is definitely going to bring a change to the system. But shockingly, Shaq, during the preseason, after they fire D'Antoni and D'Antoni goes to the Knicks to start that era, Shaq says Mike D'Antoni will bring the Knicks 10 to 15 more wins. And says, I actually had a couple more years. I actually wish I had a couple more years with him, Shaq said Thursday in Brooklyn while filming an ESPN commercial. I played with a lot of great coaches and only spent a couple of months with him, but I put him up in that same category. Wild. I think that's kind of wild.
So, and how many years have he played with Phoenix at this point?
Fucking one! Half a year! This is his first full year with Phoenix. He got traded last season.
Yeah, so that.
So he played less than 6 months with the guy.
Yeah, he probably was the reason that he's gone. And he just tried to make it seem like it was not. He probably was like, "Yo, you gotta get this guy the fuck."
I actually wish I had a couple more years with him. As soon as the reporters go away, so glad that fuck is out of here. Now I can get all I want down low.
Yeah, because
the post.
Honestly, that's a new theory of mine. I'll explain that later.
Okay. Okay. But Shaq also said during this interview that he plans to retire when his current contract expires after the 2009-2010 season. And it's just, I find that interesting as well. Because he's gonna, it's weird. He's so weird. On one end, he sees his own mortality, and he sees his basketball career coming to a close. But then, as we're gonna see, as soon as he starts to feel better, then the ideas, or at least what he puts out there, changes drastically. And I find that to be incredibly interesting. But the team, for the most part, stays the same. There's not too many drastic differences. You still have Steve Nash. You still have, what's his face, Amari Stoudemire. You still have Jason Richardson's here. He's been with the team. Boris Diaw. Matt Barnes. Fucking fake gangster Matt Barnes. Jared Dudley, who's only a sophomore at this point.
Matt Barnes was from the slums. Don't play with Matt Barnes.
Rookie Goran Dragic on this team. So, like, they're definitely a team between two eras, for sure. But Terry Porter's going to bring a more slow, deliberate style to this roster. And we're going to see it's going to, that combined with Shaq's health is going to turn into a renaissance year for the Diesel.
It's interesting because Shaq, I had looked at him using his injuries as an excuse.
Yeah.
Like up to this point, like up to like, and I felt that way because of what he was saying, and especially like what was actually happening. But I think it's definitely a mix of both. But like in the season, he at least shows that somewhat what he was saying might have been true with the injuries.
Yeah, and he does make, because you're not alone. There are fucking critics saying that shit.
Yeah,
there are definitely people who felt like he was kind of leaning too much on the injuries, and that, you know, it was kind of just the big Diesel deteriorating.
Yeah,
but I've always said this. I've always said this about Phoenix and Arizona sports teams. And people can say I'm full of shit, but whatever. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, you are. No.
It's fine. But the guys who are injury prone go to Phoenix or go to Arizona, and they are able to sustain a way better account for themselves physically after being there. And if you're there most of your career, chances are you're going to have a long career, like Larry Fitzgerald, for example.
Is it because of medical staff, you think? Or?
It's no, in my opinion, it's because, and they say people who have arthritis, the best place to go is a place like Arizona because of the dry weather that's there all the time. It's dry, warm weather. It's great for your body. And that environment is a huge benefit to players who are trying to stay healthy. Like it's, and I'll try and find some like science behind this, but I've heard this before. Like, and my mother has arthritis, very bad arthritis. And my whole life, people have said that my mother needs to move to Arizona, not Florida. She wants to move to Florida, but Arizona because of the dry heat as opposed to the wet heat. It's really good for your bones and your body. Yeah. And like guys who were injury prone go there and they have, they play longer. They're more efficient with their bodies. Like Steve Nash playing into an older part of his career. Shaq here, we're going to see. I said Larry Fitzgerald. Like I like Carson Palmer, Kurt Warner, quarterbacks from the Cardinals. They would go there and they sucked for the years before they got there, and then they come there and they have a career renaissance. Like, so it's not a coincidence, in my opinion.
So are you saying that the only reason Shaq didn't become Kareem is because they traded him for Phoenix?
I'm saying it doesn't surprise me too much that he was able to figure some shit out and be in that dry Arizona weather. That's what I'm saying. It's not too surprising. I've seen it happen more than just him. With more than just him. Yeah. And they're going to start against San Antonio, who we've talked about last year are the Suns' rivals. And we talked about during round one of last year, lots of hack-a-Shaq, lots of putting him to the free throw line. Just really a textbook how to expose Shaquille O'Neal and his free throw shooting. So what does Pop do to start the year? And this is something that's on like NBA's funniest videos. Like you'll see it on YouTube all over the place. He fouls Shaq immediately, right at tip-off, right after tip-off, right? And Shaq's like, what the fuck's going on? And then you just see Pop like this. And Shaq starts dying. Everyone starts dying. The whole broadcast team is burst out laughing. But it is one of the funniest moments of all time. It is so hilarious.
Yeah.
And that's how the season starts. Phoenix is going to go win this game, but
I don't know if you remember, like a couple months ago when we did the like 2001 season and stuff like that. We were talking about hack-a-Shaq, and we talked about like where it was created, and I feel like this is that between the last series they had, along with this game, is what made it like super famous. Like, and everybody thought.
I think you're right. Obviously it was done, but not to this level where it was so blatant. Like they did it in college, right?
Because they always made it seem like Greg Popovich started that. Yeah, but I think he just made it famous with both that series along with this game. Yeah.
He mastered it. That's for damn sure. In that last series, mastered it. But that's how they start the season. The Suns are going to go 8-3 through the first 2 weeks, right?
Where they would have been sitting in the conference, Russ. You know.
So that's what I'm trying to get at.
Oh, don't worry, I could get it for you. They third. In the whole thing.
Behind the Lakers, who with Pau Gasol and Phil Jackson and Kobe, haven't looked back. So they're right on the same track as they were last year.
So I like to say that the only thing Kobe didn't have from that 08 season to 09, because it's the same roster, just continued on. The only thing he didn't have was me watching him every single day. I watched him every single day, and from that moment on, I just saw ass whoopings.
So
he was putting belt to ass.
I think they would be second in the conference. After
they would have been third.
Because the Suns are here, and then it's the Celtics and the Cavs here, and then the Lakers for best total.
Yeah.
After the first 2 weeks, and from a stat standpoint, they're right in the top 10 for points, over 20 assists, pretty good. Field goal shooting, they're number one in the league at 50%. It definitely does. And Shaq is looking not horrible so far. Definitely starting to warm up, couple 16 games, but boom, right here against Milwaukee, 29 points in a win. Another 29 points within a week from that. Like, he's starting to really feel himself, and it's coming with more field goal attempts.
Yeah.
And, he's starting to feel himself. And they're going to say, the media, New York Times is going to write, this is after the Suns beat the Nets up here, and they just smoked them by 28. Absolutely smoked them.
Another time that Shaq just, gives Nets cock.
Yeah, true. And where are they? At New Jersey, of course. But even in the swan song of his career, O'Neal can still play the role of playground bully. He was more the old O'Neal, less the older O'Neal. I had to read that 4 times when I was doing the notes. I was like, that's confusing as fuck. But O'Neal plotted and pushed his way to 18 points and 6 rebounds. And Stoudemire, wearing retro goggles this season, he started doing that this year. That became a signature look for him. He scored 14 points and 5 rebounds. But they're basically talking about how Shaq is, like they said, he can still play the role of playground bully. And I think that's going to be his role for the rest of his career now. He can't necessarily move the way he used to move. But he can still be an asshole to people on the court from a playing standpoint and from a talking shit standpoint. He can get in these young bloods' heads, being the legend of Shaquille O'Neal. And I think...
he's still a massive human being.
Yeah, and he doesn't get any smaller.
Yeah.
He doesn't get any smaller.
Only gets bigger. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's really going to show serious flashes of himself. Like, when we look at the points per game from a center, and I think this is important because we're going to see StatMuse categorizes a few people at center that I don't believe should be there. As you can see, Chris Bosh is noted as the number 1 scoring center with 23 points a game. That's a power forward. He's not a center. Al Jefferson, not really a center. Plays center, not really a center. Zebo, not a center. Yao Ming, true center. Dwight Howard, a closer to true center. and played center straight up his whole
I was
career.
about to say, I'm like, are we not counting like people whose positions is actually centers?
Well, Tim Duncan's position is actually center, and so is Bosch, but they're not centers. They're power forwards. Pau Gasol, same thing. He plays center on your team. Like Andrew Bynum's also there, but plays center, not a center. So if we take away those guys, Shaq is still one of the best scoring centers in basketball. And one of the best field goal percentage players in basketball. Still being efficient and doing a lot for the Suns team that is now around him. Like, very clearly. Like, the scheme has changed from Mike D'Antoni's up-tempo style to a more deliberate Shaq's getting it in the post, doing damage, getting field goal attempts.
That's crazy because I don't feel like at that time people were talking about Shaq as like 19 and 9 at that point, like for a center was like a big deal, and people weren't making it seem like that.
Because it's not in the grand scheme of things. Because if we look back at the era we just came from, it's not a big deal. Like, but because it was a drought, we had such a terrible drought of true big men.
Yeah.
All these stats that aren't, top tier, outside of a few exceptions, but all of these stats that are outside of the top echelon, like, David Robinson, Patrick Ewing, Hakeem Olajuwon, that era. And then, compared to those guys, this ain't shit. You know what I mean? It's a point guards league. It's a guards league.
Because, for instance, people were looking at Powell as, sure, they didn't look at him as a superstar, but they looked at him as, a pretty good player.
Yeah,
and
all-star.
Shaq's giving him, doing the same.
Basically
Powell.
exactly the same.
Yeah.
Eerily similar, if we look at the two right next to each other here. In less minutes for Shaq.
Which literally proves that if Shaq, try to do things right, man, we could have won maybe 10.
We could have made this work.
We could have made maybe 10. That could have been 10, Shaq, possibly.
We could have made this work. Please. So they scored 20. So he scores 29 against Milwaukee, like I said earlier. But later in the season, about a month later, he's going to drop 35 on them. Big ones. Slap his dick on the table.
Yeah.
Beat down. 14 of 19 shooting.
Not to
mention 7 of 12 free throws.
He's talking so much shit too. He's like, yo, I still dick y'all down. I'm old as hell.
The quote is, if they keep feeding me like that, those are the type of numbers that they can expect out of me, said Shaq, who had his first 30-point game since March 9th, 2007. Miami against Minnesota. And then he goes on to say, but sometimes I get those shots and sometimes I don't. So this is what I mean. Two conflicting ideologies. And I feel like this has been the case since Shaq has dipped out of his prime. Where it's like sometimes he feels like he can still play, and then sometimes he feels like he's on his way out the door. It's just confusing.
I think he was just being super immature about it. Because when he
in
talks,
the moment.
Yeah, I just think he when he talks about it now, he talks about it as if you're a person that was of that caliber, and now you're not. But then you can give moments of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Versus when you hear him analyze stuff like that, that's how he kind of comes at it. But I'm like, why didn't you do it with yourself when what's actually happening?
Yeah. But look at this. After this 35-point game, look at this run he's going to go on. This looks back to Shaq from a few years ago. To the end of January, from here to here, right? It's got to be almost 21 a game. So this is the first time he's been over 20 points in years. Yeah.
20. Yeah, that's another 20-point. Do it from the beginning of the season to that point. I think he's averaging 20 a game up to that point.
He's pretty damn close. I know that for a fact. Because he's got the 29-point games. But all these single-digit games, like this 3-point embarrassment,
I think it's
that murders his average. But he goes right to 18. See what I mean? Those slay his average. Yeah. But still, from the 35-point game, getting to over 21 a game is like, Shaq's got to feel like, motherfucker, I'm back.
Yeah, exactly. And especially at least to Miami form, maybe.
Right, exactly.
Because like he hadn't done that since what, 06?
Yeah, not this. Yeah, definitely not. Yeah. Maybe even 05.
Yeah.
Like it's not.
Yeah, because I don't even
think in
06 he was. Yeah, I don't even think in 06 he was averaging 20. So.
Yeah, it has absolutely been a while. But yeah, he just takes over. He takes over for them, and
I know. You kind of mentioned it, but Shaq had mentioned in the beginning of the season that he had been working with the trainers in Phoenix, and it was he was having was it his hip or something, a muscle towards his hip area that wasn't.
It's a muscle in his asshole. It's a muscle in his ass. I know that.
Okay. All right.
That thick ass.
That wasn't. Pause, man. Come on, man.
Thick, juicy ass. Please keep going. The more you pause me, the deeper I'm gonna get. How's that?
That's what she said.
You're goddamn right. Thank you.
So
thank you very much.
It was a muscle that wasn't activating when he was trying to like do his work and go explosive. Yep. So they worked on that muscle, and that's what apparently helped a lot of this stuff out. You know?
I'm sorry, but this is the dirtiest conversation about a sports injury ever. he pulled a muscle in his ass so he couldn't be as explosive as he wanted to be.
Yeah, you're goddamn right. Gonna explode on everybody.
Oh, man.
I can't breathe.
It's funny because after that period of time, like, what's the Suns' record? That's what I need to get.
It was hoes.
I need
straight cock.
That is your word of this legacy breakdown. You have used the phrase "hoe," the word "hoe," more than any human on earth outside of Michael Jordan to Scott Burrell.
All right.
Fucking
yeah, but they were 100% hoes that year because we were just straight up dicking down the whole Western Conference, Eastern Conference, whatever conference. It could have been y'all mama's conference. If y'all even deny that, because I know y'all be Kobe.
Your mama's conference.
Yeah, and y'all mamas was watching that and thinking Kobe was the man. So just so y'all remember that. So
they're 23-16 at this point. Is that the best record? I don't think so. The Magic, there's like an upper echelon. There's a very obvious upper tier, right? It's your team. It's LeBron. It's the Big Three Celtics, the original Big Three. Yeah. And Dwight Howard's sexy ass. That's it. And the 3-point shooting. And then everybody else is like
I thought people had the Spurs in that. What the Spurs were
from a record standpoint, they're not.
Oh, you're talking about tier
at this point.
Yeah.
Then as we go down a tier, I think the Spurs, the Nuggets, Chris Paul, the Hornets, and then I think the Suns are in that tier underneath that.
So AKA, yeah, they were hoes.
Why don't you expand on that?
I just want to be stupid. Oh man, no, that just means they weren't at our level. We let them know from the beginning. You talking about Kobe?
In the record. Looking just at the West, like
you talking about Kobe? Tell me how my ass tastes, and now Kobe's literally taking a shit, and it's falling on multiple people before it even hits your face, Shaq. That's how bad you are. Like you weren't even the first person that got the shit in the face. Freaking Tim Duncan got it, then Chris Paul, then Carmelo, and then Yao, and then freaking Brandon Roy. You don't even remember Brandon Roy, and then it was you, Shaq.
It's
get the fuck out of here, bitch. Bleep me whatever you have to do. But fuck you, Shaq.
Do you watch the show? Do I ever bleep you?
I know, but I'm just saying. But if you, because I know.
If you want, fucking, I don't want. But look, you look at 23-16. Do you look at that and go, "That's a really shitty record"?
No,
I mean, you didn't look at it in this conference standings. if you just said, "Oh, they're 23-16," like it's not like amazing, but it's not like I would just consider them in the playoffs. But this West is too tough.
But
like,
they are in the playoffs at this point.
But they're on the bubble. They're like right on the bubble here.
They're in the there's no bubble at this point.
No. But
good.
The playoff bubble is the bubble of 8 to 10. That's the bubble. It's whether you're gonna miss it or make it, and they are right on there.
Yeah.
Right. They're 7th.
Yeah.
So they are on the and but this is gonna get Shaq to, I believe,
into the All-Star game.
Yes, I wanted to make sure. But they're talking about there's reports about Shaq how he should make the All-Star team, and
I think Yao was injured, right? Wasn't he?
But Yao gets picked every year whether he's healthy or not.
I lived it. That's facts. Because he literally is that Chinese crowd, man.
They vote him in every single year. It was actually astounding. Like him and T-Mac, because he played with Yao, got crazy votes for the All-Star game. Allen Iverson got votes to start the All-Star game despite never playing one game during the season. Like, shit. They put Magic Johnson in the All-Star game.
Oh, no,
he was out.
Yeah. No, he wasn't injured that season.
No. Shaq made it on his own merit. This was the last for his 15th All-Star appearance.
Wait, what? But was he a reserve? He must have been. He must have not been the.
Yeah, he got voted in.
Okay.
It was not fan vote. It was coach vote. So he's on the bench.
Okay. Well, that makes sense because who was going to be the second center? Freaking not Andrew
in
Bynum.
The West.
Bynum was injured.
I think Shaq deserved it. You don't think he deserved it?
No, of course. Of course. But I'm saying like there was like not even a close second. In the West at this point.
To the point that I was showing when I was showing this. So like if we go, let's do center before February 1st. Chris Bosh still 23. He's not a real center. See what I mean? And he's in the East. Right? Yeah. Or can I do Western
Jefferson will be the next one, but nobody's watching Minnesota games. Like get your ass on. Jefferson.
I don't think he made the All-Star team this year.
No, I know, but that's because nobody's watching Minnesota games. Like it doesn't matter that you scored 23 and 10. Like nobody watched that.
you got Tim Duncan. They're calling a center. Fucking drives me nuts. They're putting him at power forward, right?
Damn, Timmy was averaging 20 and 10 at that point. That's pretty good.
Yeah, he's not old. He's right in the meat of his career right now.
No,
he's not that old.
Yeah, but he takes that step down.
But I believe it's more for the team than it is because he needed to. It's like the opposite of Shaq.
I don't think Tim Duncan was able to produce the 28 and whatever he was doing before when he was MVP.
We can talk about that when it's his legacy breakdown.
I remember that because
I'm sure it'll come up.
I rooted against him a lot, so I know.
But I think Shaq deserved to make the All-Star team. I don't think it's a novelty like nostalgia vote. That's the word I'm looking for. Yeah. I don't think it's a nostalgia vote. I think he deserves it, especially because before the All-Star game, like during that month of January. So let's see, right here, he specifically asks for more shots, and he gets it. Over 10 shots almost every single game.
Yeah.
And he's doing shit with it. Like let's see if I can find that quote. So New York Times writes, the problem beforehand, what they're saying is the problem with Shaq previously, as O'Neal described it, was that a muscle in his considerable posterior was not firing correctly. This is what we were talking about before. The trainer's program helped him retrain those muscles. With his explosiveness back, Shaq went to Coach Porter in early December and asked for more shots. So I just told him, y'all want me to be me? I'm feeling good. The best shape of my life. Bring it to me. Give it to me. Fucking hilarious. But yeah, When I first got here, I was only averaging 8 shots. I can't be Shaq only taking 8 shots. That's the major quote from this.
Yeah.
Shaq now talks confidently about playing beyond his current contract, which ends in 2010. I think I could give them 4 more years.
Yeah.
So a complete 180 from the beginning of the year where he's talking about retiring.
Yeah.
Crazy. What were you going to say, though?
Do you think, like, him wanting it to be... Because, like, him asking for more shots obviously makes it a more Shaq-centric team.
Yeah.
Do you think that no matter what, like, for the rest of his career, like, even... Let's say if he would have had, like, a bunch of talent around him. And do you think that hurts his team more, that he wants it to be Shaq-centric rather than a more pass-heavy team or something like that?
I think it's shown in his career that it's absolutely damaging outside of if you have prime Shaq. Like, the team likes him. Like, he's a nice guy to his teammates. He's got a great approval rating from those guys in the locker room. But actually hold that thought, because up until this year, he has pretty good approval rating. But I feel like it's all going to come to a head around this February, where Coach Porter is getting pressure from his players to restore the up-tempo game. The up-tempo game.
Yeah.
That, what do you call it? That gives them more offensive punch and might get them to that next tier, right? But Porter is siding with the more deliberate approach, and the more deliberate approach equals Shaq.
Yeah.
So they got to be mad at Shaq. Mind you, we know Shaq Steve Nash is just the ire of him, like, in general, as we come to find out after this point. Like, it's just hilarious. It's crazy because Grant Hill goes and talks with Shaq after this and is like, no wonder why we had all these problems in Phoenix, like when they're out doing open court together.
Yeah.
Because no wonder why we had all these problems in Phoenix. You're fucking mad at the point guard.
Ever. No wonder we didn't win in Phoenix. He's mad at the point guard.
You're right. There you go.
I should have signed someplace else.
Christmas Day.
Like, it's great. Like,
and then, like, when you were, like, I mean, it's kind of him pushing it, right? Like, because it's him looking at it as, he's probably thinking, well, if I could play at this level, I'm better than Steve Nash now.
Yeah.
Like, I could totally see him saying, like, thinking that, I'm back to, like, old, beginning Miami Shaq. I'm better than Steve Nash. Because I think about it, that same Shaq he was thinking was the MVP that year. So 100%. Like, if I'm playing like MVP, this guy ain't better than me.
And what is Steve Nash put up for the season? Like, I'm sure it's different for the exact time frame, but for the whole season, he's
like 14 and 11 or something like that. He was like classic for that.
Yeah, 15 and 9. 15 and 10. 15 and 10. Yeah. 3.4 turnovers a game.
Really
50, 40, 90 this year. Yeah. I'm sure Shaq's looking at it like, Steve Nash ain't shit. I carried this team. Fuck that. I carried this team. It's around me. Fucking, I'm
probably, sure. Like, he probably doesn't say it out loud because he's like self-conscious enough to like know that.
But hell no, he's not self-conscious enough.
You don't think so?
When he goes home to his family, he's talking about how he's the greatest player in the history of the Phoenix Suns.
Like, you see
better than Chuck, better than Kevin Johnson, better than Amari, better than fucking anybody that's ever suited up in Phoenix. There's no way he doesn't feel that way after he puts up fucking 20 whatever a game, 20 and 10. Fucking, I get this team to the finals. Fucking, but it's all coming to a head because basically Porter's going to get fired around the All-Star game, and they're going to come with a new coach because what I have to believe is the players fucking want to change.
Yeah.
Outside of Shaq. I gotta believe.
It's funny because I feel like Alvin Gentry always gets given shit. Like, think about his whole career. He's always just been given like shit and like, deal, like figure it out. And then when the one time he finally like starts figuring it out with the Nets, Kyrie and Kevin Durant's like, yeah, fuck this guy. Let's get
the fuck out of
take
here.
him out and bring Steve Nash in, who's never coached ever.
Alvin Gentry didn't coach the Nets.
Yeah, he did.
No, he didn't. He coached the
before.
Pelicans.
Oh shit! Who? Oh yeah, that's
Kenny
so
Atkinson.
That's so racist of me.
Kenny Atkinson. Kenny Atkinson doesn't look anything like Alvin Gentry.
That's hilarious.
How is it racist?
You gotta take it out.
Alvin Gentry is black.
Yeah, but
Kenny Atkinson is white.
No, but I swear to God, I had Alvin Gentry's name and thinking of Kenny Atkinson's face. I swear to God, like, because when you just showed me that, I was thinking you were showing me Kenny Atkinson.
The brain is a magical tool.
That is insane. You gotta take
the brain is a fucking
Russell,
wonder.
So I don't want that.
Well, after we confuse the whole audience, now we got to get into the All-Star game because I almost skipped it and I don't want to skip it because one of the most important things in Shaq's career happens at this All-Star game. And it is the official, real-life, 100% end of the Shaq and Kobe beef. Now, we haven't really talked about too many All-Star games in the Legacy Breakdown series, like the whole series. We talked about the one with Jordan, the 2000, what was that? 2002 All-Star game, where he hits, it's like his last one, or 2003. I think it's 2003.
You sure that wasn't Jordan's LB?
Yeah, that wasn't Jordan's album. But I'm talking about in total.
Oh,
we haven't talked about too many All-Star games.
Yeah.
It's something I usually kind of skim over. I don't generally think it matters to a legacy except to count how many they made at the end.
Or MVPs, you could say.
Yeah, even All-Star game MVPs. I guess it's a snapshot, maybe of, it's not. It doesn't really mean anything. Like, it means you did well in this exhibition. You had some cool dunks. Like, defense doesn't matter. I don't really hold a lot of weight to it. But this All-Star game is really important because.
But in Shaq's career, it would mean it meant a little bit more. Like,
talk about that because I think you're right. But talk about that.
So, like, I think probably I want to say maybe once, like 2006 might have hit. I feel like that's when the All-Star game started. Like, really, it might have been a little earlier than that, but I think that's when it started. Like, really becoming a huge exhibition game. Like, once Shaq, Dwight, and freaking LeBron were doing the dance and shit.
That's this year. That's the last one he made in Miami. The last All-Star game.
I remember that. I was one, but you want to know why? It's because LeBron's bitch ass era came in that brought all of this non-competitive shit and I just wanted to.
Shaq's about that life. Shaq's the ultimate. Be friends with me. Like he's the.
I know. I just wanted to throw shit, but it was really like after that.
When it comes to that,
because you still had you had some competitive All-Star games like with. I'm just thinking about ones that like AI was in and stuff like that. Like that, they were still playing hard.
Yeah. And they're fun moments. But what I thought you were going to say when it comes to Shaq is, like, he's absolutely the ambassador at this point. But even before this, once Jordan retired, Shaq is like the Don of the All-Star weekend. Like,
oh, for sure.
He used to do like All-Star comedy shows. Like he would always do something cool at the All-Star game. He'd kiss Tracy McGrady. He'd like do his point guard thing. He would every single All-Star game. He would do the thing where he would try to cross somebody up and fucking be a point guard.
He always shot a three.
Shoot his threes. Like just acting like an idiot. This particular All-Star game, he does the Jabberwocky entrance for his last one, where it's like, this sort of deal. It'll be on your screen where they do it all that sick choreographed dancing.
I'm pretty sure it's not called Jabberwocky.
No, it is. I think it is. I've been wrong before.
Or something like that.
Listen, I've been wrong before, man. I've been wrong before. It's fine. Fucking, if I'm wrong, it'll be on your screen.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's not racist. Anyways,
It's not. It's not. It shouldn't be. At least.
fucking, hopefully
People are
Jabberwocky
mad.
isn't some racist word that I never knew was racist.
The mess.
But it is the last time that Kobe and Shaq are going to be on the same squad.
Yeah.
It's going to bring back great memories. Shaq told ESPN Friday. Myself and him, we're still the greatest little man, big man, 1-2 punch ever created in the history of the game. It's a fact.
That's a fact.
It's a fact.
Yeah.
I would love, and if we get to a point where we start like doing live streams and we get popular enough where people actually give a shit about seeing our faces all the time, I would love to do a 2-on-2 tournament of all the best teammates to ever play and put it on like either do it on 2K or just do something where we could fucking get like have some fun with it. Because it'd be cool to see all the different matchups. And I definitely think they are going to be at the top of the list and win that
For
contest.
sure.
Like, Shaq stands behind that, but I feel like he's justified and he's right to feel that way.
Yeah, 100%. Like, when you think about it, in a 2-on-2 matchup, who's going to guard Shaq? Ever.
It's like, it's difficult. It's not easy.
Yeah,
especially
like,
what are the rules? Are we playing playground rules? Like,
yeah, let's just say playground rules, right? And let's say Kobe and Shaq get the ball first. It's done. The game is over.
So when we used to play, and you'll know this, Derail, this is what I'm about to say is a very true story.
Yeah.
You and I and a few other people would play pool basketball, right? We basically we tie a fucking donut, one of those pool floating donuts. We tie it with a pool noodle to the ladder at the corner of the pool, and we did a half-court game, basically, where, you know, obviously you're holding the ball, it's hard to dribble, shit like that. But there was one person that we would call Shaq. There's one person that they would go and completely bully, whether it be me, whoever was guarding this person, and that person is the fairy pod mother, Lindsay Lehman, who would literally get the ball, go up against, God forbid you had a female guarding you, and gets the ball, backs them the fuck down, elbows, and dunks. Every time. I played one-on-one against Lindsay in a pool basketball game in front of her whole family, and I think that they judged me afterwards. I think they thought I was less of a man because Lindsay completely emasculated me. Like, bully ball extreme. And that's what happens when you have playground rules and Shaq.
Did you really just use that?
Yes, I did. I did.
I mean, exactly. Like when you really think about it, what if you're doing prime Shaq and Kobe, you just throw it down to Shaq. Who the hell else? It doesn't even matter the person, unless you're saying Wilt Chamberlain versus like Jay West or something as the duo. Like, you literally have no person that's gonna even like come remotely close to stopping Shaq.
The only way you're gonna do that is tire him out on defense. That's it.
Yeah.
Your only chance. 100%. And 2000 Shaq, that was difficult to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Fucking. Oh yeah. Anytime Lindsay had a girl on her at all, it was just over. Crushed. Destroyed. To the point where Lindsay would feel bad and I'd have to go to her and be like, no, we have to win. We have to fucking win. You have to do this. You have to take them out. Man. Yeah, your dad definitely thought I was fucking half a man that day. That was fucking crazy.
That's okay. My dad's really short, so.
But so Shaq's talking about his entrance. He said, I wanted to do something a little different and unique, said Shaq, making his 15th All-Star appearance. I realized that this may possibly be my last one, so I wanted to make it memorable for myself and for the fans. Once again, now we're on the other side of the court. Now it's my last All-Star game. Now I'm not playing 3 or 4 years. Now it's my last All-Star game. Fucking.
I really think the 3 or 4 years thing is just like when he wants to talk shit. Like, yeah, I think he's like kind of like me, where I just want to talk shit no matter what. Like, and that's just him. Like, yeah, I could be smoking them for the next 3 to 4 years if I wanted to. Like, I could totally see that being Shaq.
Shaq's gonna call himself and Kobe the big legendaries. Talking about the game that they play together. It felt like old times. I miss those times. So the key here is Shaq and Kobe are going to win they're going to win MVP.
And we smoked them too. Stop playing with us.
The West was dominant for a while.
Yeah, 27, 4 steals. Kobe was wild for a spell.
But Shaq had 17 points in 10 minutes, which is kind of staggering. 8 of 9. Nobody was standing in front of him at all.
For sure.
Right? And Kobe had 27, was going for it. Where was this All-Star game? Where was it? In Phoenix. There we go.
Yeah.
Shaq doesn't even have to travel.
Yeah, it was awesome for him.
Yeah. But what officially ends the rivalry?
Oh, wait, time out. And this also adds to your point, Russ, because he played better in this game, and it was probably because he was in the Phoenix environment, the sun and stuff, yeah.
Yes, but also because once people realized that Kobe and Shaq were onto something together, they kind of fed into that.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
They
100%.
let that happen. And
I remember. Like the Dwight Howard
plays.
Yeah, I remember the Dwight Howard, like, trying to guard Kobe, and then he
through
puts
the legs.
between the legs, and then comes up, and just,
fire.
What we do.
No, he wasn't. That was Shaq. Kobe was posting up. I think.
Oh, yeah.
And Shaq put it between Dwight's legs. Of course, Dwight, because he hates Dwight, and he wants to embarrass Dwight at every turn possible.
Yeah, for sure.
Fucking, they get the trophy, right?
Yes.
And
and tell them what happens with the trophy. What happens?
Yeah, this is important. This is a huge part. This is what ends the beef right here.
Yep.
So Kobe and Shaq, they get the trophy, and it was known amongst the players, right, that Shaq wanted the trophy to give it to his son, right? And Shaq had mentioned it throughout that. You know what I mean? Like, cool to give this to my son, but they split it, right?
Yeah.
And Kobe says to Shaq,
"But do you remember what you did during that game that made me realize I was with you all these years?"
No.
You don't remember?
Mm-mm.
So we got the co-MVP. It's me, Sharif, and you standing on stage. And what did you tell me to do? You told me to take the trophy home.
That's right.
Remember that?
Yeah, I did.
And I realized now, I was like, I think I may have messed something up. Because a lot of times that our beef was going on, you know me, I'm the master marketer. About 60% of the time, I would just say it just to keep it going. But like when you did that, when you didn't have to do that, because usually they take it and they mail it, but
right.
you like Shaq, Sharif loves you. So so here you go, Sharif, and you gave him the trophy. I just said to myself, I was like, luckily I won 3 out of 4 with this guy, but I was to this guy, so I owe you an apology. I'm gonna give you an apology, but we ain't gonna be doing all that crying. But thank you for that moment, because Sharif loved that moment. That was the first time I was able, to give him something. He was there. I was going through a lot at that time, and he loved you for it. I love you for that moment. So thank you for that moment.
Thank you.
Here, man, you could take the trophy.
Yeah.
Now, of course, something tangible and like something material would bring Shaq so much emotion.
Such an asshole. Like, this is actually like Shaq.
No, this is real shit. You know why? This is real shit. It took this guy getting a fucking MVP trophy from the All-Star game to go, I may have messed something up. No, motherfucker. You should have known that as soon as you fucked it up. Oh man, what a nice guy giving me the MVP trophy. He literally, in the last interview between Kobe and Shaq, the last time they see each other ever, Shaq starts crying.
No, I don't think he cried.
Oh, he 100% cries. I got the footage. It'll be on your screen. Fucking, he cries. There are tears, and he goes, and he tries to hold stuff back, and he's going, I may have messed something up. Because this guy is such a good guy. Because he gave him a fucking trophy that doesn't matter.
Nah.
Not because Kobe was probably right about the basketball situations, was probably right about Shaq shouldn't have been in shape. No, because of a material fucking object.
I think it's
stupid.
no. So
stupid.
time out. I think there's also a little bit more to it because you got to look at it from that moment. Like literally, you got Shaq shitting on him in the beginning of the season, right? At this point,
True.
Shaq's already. I got the 4 chips. Everybody's on Shaq's side, along with MVP. Everything. Shaq's already like a made man.
Yeah.
And Kobe's still really not a made man. Like a
True.
lot of people looked at him as like, are you really like, were you really as good as everybody made it seem like? Even though people,
I
like
think
me
people think
thought he was
he's.
God.
I think people think he's a legend for 2 reasons: popularity and the 35 point per game season. Once he did the 81, he did the 81 to the Raptors, he crossed over to the legend status. In my opinion,
I feel that. But
I agree with you that he's not a. Even though he might be a legend, he's not a made man yet. I understand what you mean by that.
And even with this, like that's another notch on his belt that he could be All-Star MVP. And he's like, no, this is like your the end of your like your career and all this
is the end of your
and you're giving this
life,
to your
man.
kid. Like, yeah, and he was just like, so he's probably looking at all of that too. Like, I've been a dick to this guy for years.
Yeah,
and he literally still,
that's what it is.
So,
and that's my point. My point is, why did it take him getting a trophy to realize that? I don't understand.
Not the trophy. It's the act of kindness. I think that like it was more so like it could have been something smaller than that. I think he would have realized that because this is probably like
I want you to be right about this for the record. I want you to be right about this.
I've actually
I find
heard
it so
Shaq
hard
talk
to
about
believe.
this a bunch. Like I've heard him talk about this multiple times.
What have we learned through doing this whole legacy breakdown? Shaq is a little bit of an embellisher, to say it nicely.
Yeah,
a little bit of a bullshit artist.
I think like when he's talking about it, like the act. I think it's the act of kindness that he looks at when he's like, all right, I've hated this dude for this long because all this isn't like all of this happening. It's been years. They probably hadn't been in like the same room or the same area for that long ever. Like for like since 2004. So like he's probably just looking at this guy like, oh, this guy's an asshole, and he snitched on me, all this other shit. Like they have like a lot of history, and then when he finally is around them, he's like, oh wow, what? Like he's really not like. He's not as bad as I've been thinking for the last. I've been thinking this guy's a complete asshole, but also Kobe changed at that point too. Like Kobe wasn't. The
he
same.
Definitely. A little bit. He's still, to your point, got something to prove. So it's still in there. Like he's not post-retirement Kobe,
and he proves it.
Like who I would have wanted to hang out with. I wouldn't want to hang out with this Kobe. He's too focused and motivated and a little crazy. Yeah, I would have wanted to. I would have wanted to hang out with post-career Kobe, the guy who's the girl dad and understands how fucking insane he was. Yeah. Like, I love that. The self-aware one. I love that about Kobe. Fucking, but so they fire. Like I said, they fire. They fire Terry Porter, right? That comes out. And they are coming out like they're going to trade Amari Stoudemire. That was in the news. I never knew about that. I don't remember that when I was a kid. I don't, but it was huge news.
At least not at this point. Like, I know it happens 2 years later, but
not. It says they have been actively shopping Stoudemire, their all-star forward.
No, yeah, I know that, but I'm saying like I didn't know that was happening, but I knew like 2 years later he was like one leave and stuff too.
And who does he play with? Mike D'Antoni in New York.
Yeah,
of course. But Shaq about the firing. I think guys just got to get used to the system. Funny how that works. Guy having a career renaissance says, I think guys just need to get used to the system. It's not fair to Terry, right?
Yeah.
Something goes wrong, it's going to be 3 guys who get the blame. Steve, myself, and Terry. So we just have to figure something out. So cut out Steve. So does he mean Steve Nash or Steve Kerr?
I think he means Steve Nash.
I hope he means Steve Nash. Otherwise, he is disrespecting fucking.
I would think he means Steve Nash. There's no way that you talk about you're talking about the Phoenix Suns at that point and not talking about Steve Nash.
It's crazy. Nash, who is 35, is said to be the one untouchable player on the roster in trade talks. Exactly, but some people around the league believe that he could ask for a trade this summer if the Suns plunge into rebuilding mode.
Yeah.
we know he's going to stay for a couple more years.
Yeah, at least 3 more.
But
next year, and then
the end of this article says their identity was compromised last February when they traded Sean Marion for O'Neal, and changed irrevocably when the team forced out D'Antoni last spring. So it all goes back to getting Shaq. So basically, the media is saying to Shaq, despite the fact he's having a career renaissance, you ruined 7 seconds or less.
Yeah.
You
100%.
are not 7 seconds or less, Shaq.
Yeah.
You are 7 seconds or more.
Yeah.
Way more.
Like 17 seconds or more. Like,
you are Mr. There's how many seconds on the shot clock? 24? All right. But just because Alvin Gentry's the new coach doesn't mean there's the end of the success for Shaq. And we're going to get into the last great weekend of Shaq's career. In my opinion, this is the final great weekend. He's got 2 games one against the Toronto Raptors, who, as we've seen, a team that in the last few seasons he personally has done well against, but also guys like Kobe Bryant, 81-point game.
Yeah.
Like, this is not a team known for its stalwart defensive performances.
He's going against Chris Bosh, arguably the best center in the league.
Yeah, fucking A. Ridiculous. But he is going to have the last 40-point game of his career. 45 and 11 in 35 minutes. 10 of 25 from the field. That is impressive. Or never, excuse me, not 10 of 25. 20 of 25.
I was about to say, I'm like, how did he get?
I'm not used to reading 20 there for made field goals. It's just, that's astounding. That's got to be one of the most field goals he's ever made in his career.
There's at least 16 dunks in that game from Shaq.
Yeah, 100%. All right, little jump baby hooks, like
or little easy layups.
Just like drop steps, little shitty push dunks like that. Love taps. But a week shy of his 37th birthday, Shaq scored 45 points, his biggest offensive performance in 6 years.
Yeah,
powering the Phoenix Suns to a 133-113 victory.
Yeah.
Crazy. He's just so strong and pushes guys under the basket and gets inside. Toronto coach Jay Triano said, "We have no match for him. You're not alone. You are not alone." The last time he scored 40 points was a 48-point game against the Celtics on March 21st, 2003. So his last...
he was a Laker. That was 3 teams ago.
Yeah. It's crazy. Afterward, O'Neal insisted he could do this every night if only he got the ball often enough. And all I have here in my notes are fucking eyes rolling. Massive eye roll. Fucking, of course, Shaq. Goddamn. I think I'm the only player who looks at each and every center, he said, and says to myself, "That's barbecue chicken down here." Which I think is the first official time I've seen it in the whole legacy breakdown. I've read so many quotes from Shaq. I've never seen it. This is the first time I've seen him say barbecue chicken.
Yeah.
The quote that he made famous.
Yeah,
uber famous. Sure. Chris Bosh is complaining. He was just camping in the lane, Chris Bosh said. I mean, if they're not calling 3 seconds, I thought it was a rule, but I guess not. Yeah. Sack riding. Just hop on Shaq's sack and ride. Saddle up.
Oh.
Chris Bosh.
Why?
Because he's dick riding. Well, I guess I don't call 3 seconds anymore.
Yeah. No, that's not dick riding. That's him saying that the refs were helping him.
Yeah, that's dick riding. That's my point.
How? You don't think that that's true? I could totally see that because I remember how Shaq was playing, in these, in the footage, he's not really.
By the nature of Shaq's game, and this is something we talked about during the meat of his prime. By the nature of Shaq's game, the refs have to help him because he's going to the line and he's banging down low. It is what it is.
Yeah,
Like-
but the whole thing is like you still have to not be in the paint for 3 seconds.
Yeah, I think he was probably not in the paint for 3 seconds all the
I
time.
disagree with that. I think
Oh,
Shaq
now
was
you're right,
probably
Zach,
like,
then.
it's probably like, you come here, hurry up. Just give
I think
me.
he gets his move, he drop steps, he dunks, he gets his move, he goes to the other side, jump hook.
Hell
Those
no.
are the moves. I think he does it quickly, as the highlights will show on your
I
screen.
believe you, Bosh Spice. Don't worry about it.
Fucking Bosh. So the next game, later that weekend, right? He goes against the Lakers and Kobe Bryant in the last serious Shaq versus Kobe battle. There will be other ones, but after this, but this is the last one where both these guys show out. And Pau Gasol comes in the huge 30 points. God damn.
Yeah. But I could when I saw this game pop up, I was like, that makes so much sense because Andrew Bynum just finished like tearing his ACL like a month before or a couple weeks before this.
But obviously, Shaq's feeling it after the 45, so he's confident as fuck.
But they would like that would have been like the body put on him. You know what I mean? Like it would have been Shaq, like Powell and Bynum would have like helped contain him a little bit. But just Powell by himself, that's just like Shaq says, barbecue chicken.
It's barbecue chicken all day long.
Chicken.
But really, up and down, what's the pace for all these guys scoring all these points? What's the pace? 97.9. So fast, way faster in comparison to the rest of the era. Like pretty fast. And Kobe's going to have 49 on 38 shots. Classic this era Kobe game. And Shaq's going to get 33 and 7 rebounds, 6 turnovers. And of course, what would a great Shaq game be without him fouling out? Fucking. But the Suns are going to end up winning this game. And it's a fun back and forth game, obviously.
Yeah.
But, you know, after his 45-point game against Toronto on Friday night, O'Neal has consecutive 30-point games or 30-plus point games for the first time since March 5th through the 7th, 2004, where he and Kobe were teammates in LA. It's what I do, Shaq says. I've been doing it since 1992. If you don't believe it, Google me. Again, first time I've ever seen him say that. Fucking.
Well, he probably just figured out what Google was like.
He's just going
3 months ago.
Here you go, Russell. The invents of quotes. You get a great quote. Shaq, who turns 37 on Friday, is the 4th player over 35 in NBA history to score at least 33 points in consecutive games. Do you have the notes in front of you? Can you name the others without looking? Don't look.
Say it again.
You got to be over 35 years old, and you have to score at least 33 points in consecutive games. I think you'll get 2 of them. I don't think you'll get the 3rd.
I think I know some of them because I read the notes a little while ago, but I know it's MJ.
Yep.
Karl Malone.
Yep.
And 35?
35 years of age or older, 33 points in back-to-back games.
Kareem?
I would see. That's who I would have guessed.
How is Kareem not there?
I would have guessed Kareem. I feel like LeBron has obviously done this, right?
Yeah, but this is not. You gotta think about it as of 09.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm just thinking about it, like including. I know it's as well. Of course, I'm trying to think about.
LeBron would 100% have that. Kobe would have that.
Yeah,
I think that's probably it. Maybe Dirk.
Kobe would have that, right? 35. Was that? When did he get his Achilles? How old was he?
How old was he?
How old was Kobe? 35 years old.
Oh, Kobe didn't do that then.
That's what I'm saying.
Because he ruptured his Achilles at 34.
Yeah, I don't think he did it after that. I could be wrong, but I don't think he did. The other one that they have listed is Alex English, who Nuggets legend, finished in the top 10 of scoring. I told you weren't going to get it.
Yeah, fuck him. No one cares.
Fucking he's garbage. You made me get it wrong. I hope he dies tonight. Fucking.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
But no, Karl Malone, obviously, Studzilla, fucking was still playing great at age 40
Fuck
for the
Karl
Lakers.
Malone.
A lot of people thought I lost it, Shaq said. It's kind of funny to me. When I say I'm injured, no one believes me. Gee,
Including
I don't
Derail.
know who he could possibly be talking about Derail Albuquerque in the future, right? No way. Last year I was injured, and this year I'm feeling pretty good. Bryant was asked if Shaq reminded him of the Shaq of old. No, not quite. Kobe
Tell him, Kobe.
But he's playing extremely well, obviously. The thing is, they're looking for him. They're going inside to him. Tonight, I mean, Powell is giving up 250 pounds. It says in parentheses, a bit of an exaggeration. There's really not much he can do in that situation, and Shaq took advantage of it. So, Kobe still thinks he's fat, out of shape piece of garbage. Sure. But the beef is over. Don't forget, the beef is over.
And he was fat, out of shape, and a piece of garbage at that
time. But they're going to finish out this year. They're going to go 11-11, and they're going to finish as the 9th seed.
Hoes.
The fuck is wrong with you? Hoes. Hoes.
Yeah. Fuck you, Shaq. And you want to know what tastes better? Kobe's cock in your mouth, bitch. No ass taste. He ain't tasting your ass. You tasted his cock. What? On your lip, bitch. Get your goofy ass on.
And you said pause when we were talking about an ass.
But that's
Kobe's
because
dick in his mouth, bro.
Yes, that's a fact. You want to know why? Because
you need to pause.
He was over here hating, and Kobe put his huevo all on the NBA,
bruh.
All over.
So they missed it by 2 games. Yeah. They missed it by 2 games. It's the first time Shaq's missed the playoffs since his rookie year.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. So that's 14 straight seasons.
But no, after this season, obviously the Lakers are going to win the championship, right? Lakers are going to win the chip this year. And respectfully, after they see that on June 14th, 2009, congratulations, Kobe. You deserve it. You played great. Enjoy it, my man. Enjoy it. And now I know what you're saying. Shaq, how my ass taste. Spelled horribly wrong, so you know Shaq actually wrote it. Okay. And of course, the first comment, Shaq, what the fuck is this? Hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. Delete this, nephew. They're going to run through these comments. They're going to run through these. More replies. Shaq be acting wild. Fucking just people hating on Shaq.
Well, it's because people don't have the context.
Look at this. This is how recent Twitter is. This only has 1,000 likes. If this came out in 2019 as opposed to 2009, it would be mega viral. 1 million likes.
Yeah. But look at when they're commenting. Is in 2016. They're so confused at what's happening. Like Shaq, what the fuck were you?
Do your research, you fucking children.
Yeah.
But that's how Shaq's going to finish out this year, and I'm pretty sure this is his last time on Phoenix, right? Or does he play a little bit next year? I can't remember.
Oh, you got traded. You didn't get traded.
I can't remember. I'm going to look at it right now. I don't remember whether it was an off-season trade because I haven't done the research for it yet. I'll know by the time we get to the actual episode. This is the last time he plays with Phoenix. This is his last All-Star appearance, and this is kind of his last relevant year. You know?
Yeah.
After this point, he probably could have retired after this.
I think his contract still had 1 more year on it. Didn't it?
Yes, it did. It did. But I think if he looked at it in the grand scheme of things, like he was super aware, it would have been a perfect end to his career. Would be this final year, even though he didn't make the playoffs, didn't win the championship. I think it would be a really perfect ending for his career. But he's needed for one last job, and that is to be a Dwight stopper. That's what he's for. That's what he's going to try and do. We're going to talk about that next episode on Apex Cryptos. Hey guys, if you like what you heard, be sure to check out our YouTube channel. Just type in Apex Greatness on YouTube to see everything we put out this year, from legacy breakdowns to current NBA and NFL content. We have over 150 videos to binge if you're that type of person, or just to listen to in your spare time. We have about 2 to 5 hours of new content every week. Check us out. Later.